So what a difference 20 minutes makes, eh? No, doing the same. Came to see it yesterday. Realistically, it was a complete time waster. Hi, welcome to Chops Garage. For those of you that are new to my channel is all about me flipping cars, basically. After years and years of corporate management roles, sales and marketing, I decided to go full-time flipping cars. It was something I was doing in the background a lot of the time. My passion is cars, mostly classic cars. I was doing it in the background with a friend out of a shared unit, and decided to make the leap to trying to do it full-time. So my videos are all about the trials and tribulations of trying to flip motors, a mix of you know, just standard fare like this Ford Ka and more interesting classic stuff. So this is the car from the last video that we picked up from Facebook Marketplace. It's a 2011 Ford Ka. I saw it on Marketplace, nipped out there, had a viewing of it, took it out for a test drive. You can see that in the last video. Put a bid into the lady. She wanted 2,000, got it for 1,750 quid, which, as I said in the last video, is pretty much what you'd pay for one if you got it from auction, but then you'd have fees and delivery on top, and you're probably looking at over 2 grand at that point. Plus then you'd have to do prep on it. This one I grabbed because she's just MOT'd it, just serviced it. It's got a full service history. She put a new windscreen in it, new shock absorbers for the MOT, and then the MOT has no advisories on it. So it was one that I should be able to basically wash and flip. But wash is the main thing here, because I've not known anybody try and sell a car. Imagine putting a new windscreen in the car, servicing it, MOTing it, and then leaving this all in the car when you put it up for sale. Very strange. So my job today, on this bank holiday weekend, is to give the car a clean. I'm loving it today because everybody else has got common sense and has gone home to spend it with their families. I've got the unit to myself. Like I said, this unit shared with Stu from Alfa Ragazzi. I've got the unit to myself, everybody else is shut, so I can just crack on and do what I want to do. So let's get cracking and clean this up. Basically going to start by just blasting everything off. I'm going to wash the door shuts with the jet wash and everything. I'm not worried about water getting inside because I've got to clean all that up as well. So we're going to blast it all off. The reason I'm doing it on the bank holiday is time is money. The sooner I get this up for sale, the sooner I get it sold. And hopefully with the lockdown coming, you know, easing, some of those kids that are now not being able to get out and pass their tests and get cars will be able to do so. So quick update on what we've got stock wise at the moment. We've got the Alto from the last video, which I did rattle can the bumpers on. Got to order a rear axle up for that because it's failed MOT on a rotten rear axle. So again, if you watched the last video, that's in that. We've got this Ford Fiesta automatic I've had for absolutely ages. So I found that certainly over lockdown there's not a market for automatic Ford Fiestas, despite it being £800 below recommended retail. We've got the little Ford car I picked up from BCA the other day that's been in for a couple of days. I've had to do nothing to. I need to give it a clean, but other than that, it's all the cars have got a bit dirty because unfortunately we've got a scrapyard opposite that blows dust everywhere. I've got my Micra that's been sitting around for a while, 2012, and then I've got the 3 Yaris's from the previous video as well. Haven't had any inquiries on them just yet. I had one test drive in that one. All these cars are about the 3k mark, which is normally, apart from the automatic Fiesta, which is normally where it's selling well. But it's been a bit quieter the last couple of weeks. I had a run early on in March where I did quite a few in a row, but it's been a bit quieter since. This silver, again, for those of you who haven't seen previous videos, this silver Yaris here is the last of the biggest flip I've done, which is where I bought 9 cars in one go from BCA. This is the last one from that, and as soon as that sells, I'll be able to do a video on what the overall profit was from buying those 9 cars in one go. But yeah, for today, the job is crack on and get this done. Drove the rally home yesterday, as per the last video as well. I'm starting to get it now. So now we've blasted off the loose stuff. We got some water soaking into the dirt. We will next get the shampoo and the brush out and start to work more of it out and work around these gaps, really get it all cleaned up. Obviously there's some body work to do on this one. I knew when I bought it. There's a few things turning up I hadn't noticed under the dirt. Got a bit of scrape here that's gone through the paint, but that's nice because I can blend to there, that's no problem at all. But a ding I knew about, when I've cleaned it, it's blasted a bit of the paint off, so that's going to need a little bit more work than I thought. But again, nothing too major. And then there's this big scratch down the side here, which I knew about when I got it. But again, previous videos, you'll have seen me resolve stuff like this. So we'll give it a buff, see how far it goes, and then we will sort that out. So it's just absolutely filthy. Like I say, how someone thought they might sell a car in this condition, I don't know, but I guess they sold it to me, didn't they? So perhaps they saved themselves the bother, but I don't think anybody else would have necessarily bought it in this kind of condition. So right, so let's get the shampoo out next and start getting into it a bit more. She's looking a lot better after we've given her a rinse off, a shampoo, and then we put some road film remover on it, did the door shuts, all that kind of stuff. So next step, there's some still tar on it, so I need to give it another blast with the road film remover, tar remover off the sides of the car, and well, probably off over the whole car, but especially down the sides. Give it another buff off, get some alloy wheel cleaner on these, clean them up, and then bring the buffer out and start to buff these areas and see how much of it comes out, how much body working I need to do in that area. But yeah, overall she's pretty clean. The backs of these KAs always pick up, same as the Fit 500s, loads of tar and stuff on the back of them, so that needs a good going over. But she's looking a hell of a lot better. Obviously still got the interior to get nailed as well. So like I say, next step, get a load of tar remover on it. Right, let's see what we can do with this scratch. May have to sand and paint, but we're going to try the old filling it in and then sanding back trick first. I've got a can of what I think is the right white, because I've done loads of these. So that's this colour KA. So what we're going to do is just put a load in the cap of the paint thing there, and then we're going to just load up this scratch full of the paint. Not too worried about how much I'm going to get on the rest of the bodywork, because it's all going to be sanded back anyway. This first coat is about creating the grabby surface, don't expect to fill it in straight away because you've got raw metal there. So we just brush some on, and we'll just brush it on liberally because we're going to sand all this back anyway. So the first thing is just to create a bit of a grabby coat first that the later coats of paint are going to be able to stick to. And obviously the idea at the moment is just, like I say, load it in there. Don't worry about it because you're going to sand all this off later anyway. So I'll just continue doing this. You don't need to see me do it all, but just basically got a brush, got some matching paint in the top of the cap, and just brushing it in the gap. So I'll have to do this 5 or 6 times, so you don't want to see that. It's gonna look blooming ugly, guys, just like this. I mean, I've got a really rubbish brush, I need to go and change my brush out, but it's gonna look ugly. There's no two ways about it. You've got to just keep going until you know that that is level with the other paint, and this one is deep, so it's going to take a lot. So yeah, it's got to look uglier before it can look better. As I say, well, this will be sanded back. It'll make more sense when you see it a bit later. You're able to just about see that in a couple of areas it's getting hard to see that the line is there. Not so much here where it was deeper, but here it's beginning to get harder to see that there's a line there. It's still going to need a good few more coats on it, especially this deeper end. As you can see, it's looking a bit messy now. So in this instance, where it's this deep and it's taking this much stuff, and you can see it's starting to drip up, I'm going to leave this 24 hours, I'm going to flat it back, and then I'm going to do the same again. So I'll show you that process in a bit. So I've got my little cappuccino out. I'm home now because someone's messaging me about coming to viewing on it. This isn't one of my sales cars, it's a private car. It's one of my personal toys, and I just don't use it, to be honest. I bought it on a whim, saw it at an auction, hear good things about them. It's a great fun little car for 660cc. It really performs well, but it doesn't get me like the Rally does. I don't have an overwhelming desire to hop in it and drive. Well, actually now the sun's out, maybe a little bit, but compared to say the Mark 1 MX-5 I had, I'd probably go for the Mark 1 MX-5. This one, I guess maybe it's the on-off turbos. I never really like the on-off of turbos, to be honest. I like normally aspirated. These older ones where it's literally all or nothing, I find it, you know, perhaps I haven't got the skills to drive them well, but I prefer normally aspirated. So yeah, I don't use her enough, so I'm going to move her on. Only asking 4.5 for her, which is what everybody says is way too cheap according to the forums for a cappuccino. You know, these things are known to reach 12k in mint condition, but this one isn't mint, it's usable. Has some bodywork blemishes here and there. Underneath really needs it's solid because it's had welding done on it, but it does need sort of a decrust and a coat of wax oil on it. But it's a totally usable one. It's never let me down. I mean, I hop in it and drive it any time. Last MOT was advisory free. Yeah, so if you want one and you don't want to drop sort of, you know, 10k plus in one, you just want to be able to get out and enjoy it and improve it as and when, this is a good little one to do. Not everybody wants mint cars. You can just get something you can get out there and enjoy without worrying about it getting scraped up and putting the miles on it. But anyway, we'll see if they turn up. It's never a problem if they don't turn up at work because I'm there anyway, but when you come home and stop doing stuff like stop working on that 4K, it's a bit of a pain in the arse if they don't turn up, but we'll see. Well, it's Easter Sunday. I'm at home. As you can see, the cappuccino's still here. Chap that came to see it yesterday, realistically, he was a complete time waster. He had seen one in a magazine, saw that they were the classic to grab while they were still affordable. But he had a lot of older stuff, Alphas and Lancias actually, and came to see this, and it wasn't his cup of tea at all. Really hadn't done his research, I don't think. Thought it was too small, thought it didn't like the sound of the little 3-cylinder engine, and just said it wasn't his cup of tea. So bit of a time waster. Nice to chat to him about Alphas and Fiats though. He was a lovely guy, nice to chat to him about that, but unfortunately coming home early for that meant that I didn't finish off the KA yesterday, so I'm going to have to get back on that, probably on Bank Holiday Monday, get back on that. So today what I'm doing is working on my MGB Roadster. So for those of you who haven't seen this one before, this is the MGB Roadster that I bought as an absolute basket case probably about 6-7 years ago now, to build with my father-in-law because I always really wanted one, and we've basically nut and bolt restored the car, put new boot flooring, a new panel across the back, new floor pans. The seals are actually good on this one, but we've literally replaced every nut and bolt on the car. Is pretty much brand new on this car, but we haven't been able to use it. We have only had it running a couple of times and had a couple of problems with it. The only thing we didn't rebuild was the carbs, because we weren't confident about doing that. But I had my first go at it the other day, as per one of my little photo posts. So I've rebuilt the carbs. Going to get them back on it today and see if we can't get out in the sunshine and enjoy it, because he's desperate to have a drive in it, which I totally understand. And we put such a lot of time and effort into it. It'd be nice to get out and enjoy it. So let's get these carbs back on and see if we can't get a run in. All relatively simple stuff, just a case of bolting them on, but because it's twin carb you have to kind of get them both on at the same time, and then these bolts down the bottom here are a pain to get your hand to, but I've done it a few times now. So I've got new gaskets here, so I'll replace those while I'm at it. Make sure everything's sealing as it should, and fingers crossed this solves the problem. I've checked that it's getting fuel. Fuel system's working right, that's pumping in as it should. So yeah, fingers crossed this is the solution, putting the rebuilt carbs on. So let's wipe them back on, probably get them on and then take a picture for you, because I haven't got to hold the phone at the moment. I haven't got my GoPro with me, so we'll get them on and then we'll try it out. A video on how to adjust the floats, so I've done that, and I've set these at a baseline from another video I saw on YouTube. I've set the needle position at a baseline at the moment, 2 full turns down, I think it was. Yeah, two full rotations down that adjuster screw there on the side. So that should be at the base level. I've got to put some oil in the dash pots, but I'll get them on first. Nice new SU ones. This is a very expensive rebuild kit. I was surprised how expensive it was, to be fair. About 110 quid for a rebuild kit, I think. You can buy a set of carbs for like 200 quid, I found out afterwards. Oh, sorry, 250. Which may well have been the better way to do it, have someone experienced build the carbs rather than me, but I wanted to have a go at building carbs because I've always scared the hell out of me, to be honest. I didn't really know much about them, but it was a lot easier than I thought it was, to be fair. So I guess I'm starting with some very simple carbs, with being the SU ones. And that's what I do like about MGBs. I've had loads of MGBs, and they are super simple to work on. I know I'm saying that from somebody who hasn't got one running, but the ones I've had that were running, I had to do very little too to keep them running. And they're really enjoyable cars. They're a cheap way into classics. As you know, I've got another one in the garage I'm building at the moment, which is going to be a bit more of a rip roar than this one. This one's completely standard, other than some polybaric rear springs. It's completely standard. Let's get the carbs on. So the carbs are all bolted in now. Whoever put these 2 bolts in down the bottom here deserves a special place in hell for those of us with bigger hands, because they are so hard to get to, and you can't really get a spanner and get more than half a turn at a time. It takes ages to put them on. Right nightmare, right faff. That's just somebody watching who's done loads of these and has a technique for doing them. But yeah, anyway, on nice and tight now. I must remember to top up the dash pots before I go too far. So I've got to put this cable in now here for the, I don't know if that's the choke or the throttle actually. I think that's the throttle. So I'm just going to pop those on a second. So I'll crack on and do that. So throttle linkage is all done now. I can never remember this one here, where that metal pipe faces upwards. You can't see, can you? Or downwards, but that one there. But I think it's there to protect it against the, I think the pipe goes upwards to protect the cable against the rest of the carbs here. So I'll put that back on, which I think is the vacuum. Put the fuel line back on here. The overflows go either side. Got another one here. These long copper pipes that go down past the engine bay. They fit on the back over here to take any excess fuel out the engine bay. And then that's another vacuum pipe there, isn't it? Which must be this one here, I presume. Oh, yeah, it's got a clear pipe on it, because I thought perhaps that was at fault. And giving us an air leak. That needs trimming down. But we'll leave it as it is for the moment to get the car running, then I'll running okay. I'll trim that down. Right, let's get all these pipes tightened up. We're all together. We've got our base fuel line set and the carburetors. I don't know where the idle with it at the moment. I've bought this tool here, but I just realised I don't think I've got the right size nozzle which was to fit inside, but I might be able to close it up enough for us to then set the idle on it, but that's assuming that we can get it running long enough to be able to set the idle on it. So yeah, nothing else to do now other than try and start her up, so let's give it a go. No, doing the same thing. I think we may have a problem with our starter motor. Let's have a little listen a second again. Yeah, it's dead now. I found a loose wire on the starter motor. Now we have got it's not firing. Oh, I don't know why she's not firing. Well, she started running again. I'm not quite sure why, but it's not right. If I pull the choke, it makes no difference at all to the running of the engine. Sounds like she might be missing to me. The engine's quite shaky. I think in this circumstances I need to get someone who knows what they're doing to have a look at it, so I'm going to get booked in because we just want to get out and enjoy it now, and we can't keep faffing around with it hoping that we stumble across the right thing. So yeah, I think it's time to hand over to someone who knows what they're doing, so I'm going to try and get it booked in and see if we can't actually get out and enjoy this car a bit. It's now Monday and we've let this harden off and started sanding it. So we started with a 240, then a 400, and now I've got an 800, and you can see it's beginning to flatten down. Still a lot more work to be done. It may well need some more painting it after because it was deep. And I'm only going to spray it as well. So what a difference 20 minutes makes, eh? Things have escalated a little bit. I've decided that that was actually more of a dent than it was just a scrape, so filling it in wasn't going to be good enough. So I've got filler on there now to try and straighten out. Now that obviously means that my spray area is up to probably here now, and sanding it down, we've gone for a little bit there, so it's going to have to be that rear quarter sprayed now. So I thought we'll sod it. I'll do the bits on the bumper properly, so they've been sanded down now, so I'm going to spray that corner. So I thought I'm doing that corner, so I best do the other corner. So I've sanded there, ready to spray. Obviously I decided to hit the dent down here, which has got its second coat of filler on it, waiting to be sanded down. And then I looked across and saw the scrapes here and decided to sand that down. So I'll be spraying that panel there, bottom of this panel here, corner of the bumper, and this section here. It's Bank Holiday Monday, so I can't get paint today, so it's just going to have to be all prepped, ready to go. But yeah, this is how things can escalate quickly. This should have been a wash and stick it out the door job, but now I've got quite involved, haven't I, in it? So it's going to have quite a bit more time in it. It should be a minter once it's done, so I'm going to have to ask decent money for it now, for the extra time I've got tied into it. But yes, but I've got to get home early today because my daughter wants to do something with me, so I need to just get it all prepped ready so I can buy the paint on Tuesday morning and get it done. So not everything I do is done with a rattle can, so you can see that the KA is now in the spray booth, and I've just got to mask up the wheel areas on that and blow the spray booth out, clean it out. It's ready for that to be painted on Tuesday as well when we can get the paint in. So Stu will be doing that one. So as I said, we'll be blending up the pillars here into that wing. All of this fresh colour and blending into the pillar there and blending into the door there. I'm not expecting it to be a perfect match because the reds never are. They just fade so differently to everything else. They seem to get much more affected. So I'm not expecting it to be perfect, but with the blend it shouldn't be blindingly obvious. Fingers crossed. And then I'll be able to have 3 KAs up for sale, won't I? Ready hopefully for the rush of people going to do their driving tests. Fingers crossed, because it's been a little bit quiet the last couple of weeks. So we've got the major part of the dent out of the flat side here, which I think is probably one of the most obvious bits when you looked at the car. Still got a slight indentation down here, but it's raised here, and I don't think we're going to be able to do that with knocking it back. I think we're going to live with that. But as you can see here, because I've still got dust inside these bits of filler here, and I've got these 2 marks either side, that indicates that's still a low spot, so I need to put a bit more filler in here, and that should be enough to finish it off. So we got what I hope is my final coat of filler on there, and obviously we've gone well past it either side to try and cover that low spot up. Used a wide spreader to make sure that we don't end up catching that low spot. We do fill across it and don't end up still with a low spot. And then I'll be finishing off with one of my foam sanders. These are really good, what they call soft E sanders, I think, or soft sanders. They're called soft sanders. They were bought for me a while back. I've got a box of them with various different shapes in, and they are super useful because in here you've obviously got the curve of the Ford KA door that curves like that, and if I used a flat block I'd end up leaving highs and lows everywhere. This one's going to fit beautifully in that curve and should give me a really nice finish, and because it's long enough to cover over that low spot I shouldn't dig back into that low spot again. So we'll let it dry off and see how we get on. I'll use the same sanding block on this side as well again now, because I want to hit into this curve here with the body line. I want to replicate that, but I want to do nice long strokes so again I don't hit any of the low spots and dig in there again. So after sanding that coat filler, that last coat of filler down, we've now put some filler primer on, and as we can see the shape's alright. Like I said, there's still a little bow just there at the bottom of the door where the metal was pushed in, but I say without pulling the metal you're not going to get rid of that, but the line across here is okay, and we haven't got that unsightly dent in there anymore. We've got rid of the scrapes here, there's more filler primer there, so that's all set for sanding when it's dried up, and then it can be painted. This side's not gone so well. I've done the thing I always tell you guys about, put too much on too quick, got runs in it, so my only option now is to keep lagging on the filler primer. So I'll keep lagging filler primer on until I've got a really thick coat on there, leave that overnight and then sand that down. But as you can see here, I'd say we're going to be painting quite a bit more than this I intended. Hopefully we'll get a premium for it, or it'll just sell super quick because it looks super clean. We'll see what happens. I mean, traditionally, to be honest, it isn't a requirement to do these things on a car of these age. If you actually clean and buff the body, a lot of these aren't so obvious, and people do accept older cars have marks on them. So, you know, obviously the key down the side was sort of non-negotiable. The other stuff could have been left, but that's the trouble once you start fiddling with stuff. This is where you get to. Tomorrow's Tuesday, and I've got someone that is very keen to come up and see the Fiesta automatic. They're coming up from Helston on the train and they want to take it away. They've been asking lots of questions about it. Obviously I need to give it a clean. Yeah, they've satisfied themselves with stuff on it. This has been an albatross around my neck. It's a 2011, 42,000 miles automatic. I thought I got it at a good price. The book says that it's worth 5,795. I had it up for that price with not the slightest bit of interest. Unfortunately, you know, it was at the beginning of the first lockdown. I think I've had this car for 4 months, which for me is a huge amount of time. I hadn't done an automatic before. People kept asking for automatics, but I think what they really wanted was the cheapy ones, the two grand ones. Yeah, so 5,795 was the book for it. I had it up for 5,795, then 5,495, then 5,295. No interest. I've now got it up for 4,995. It owes me about 4,750, something like that. So I might make a couple £100 at max selling it the price I'm doing it at. I put it for an MOT, it went straight through the MOT, no problems at all. Had an advisory for front brakes being a bit imbalanced, but I think that's because it's been sitting. It's only done like 2,000 miles since the MOT from 2020. It drives absolutely perfectly. It should have, I don't know why it's not gone. It's had, you know, just the top spec. It's silver, it's low mileage. I don't know what the score is with it at all, but it's been sitting for months with that money tied up in it, so I won't lie, I will be pleased to see it gone. Taking all the advice from you guys, and because I'm letting it go at that kind of price, it's getting a 1 month 1,000 mile warranty, but if the guy wants to extend it, he can through warranty wise, and then he can deal with them if he has any problems with it, and obviously if they then won't deal with it, then we'll have a conversation about it. But if there is a warranty claim on it, the car will probably end up being a loss, won't it, I would have thought. So I'll drive it home tonight, make sure that from sitting it's not got too bound up, give it another cleaning, and hopefully it goes out the door. But as I said, I've got to go home now and keep my promise to my daughter, so it's just a quick vid for you, and there'll be more out very soon. We'll get, your next one should have the KA, the crash damage KA all painted for you. As always, massive thanks for watching, massive thanks for all the comments, all the feedback, really appreciated. If you aren't subscribed at the moment, do me a favour, hit that subscribe button down there, help me do even more on the channel, but as always, I really appreciate you watching. Thanks a lot, bye.